And a good morning to you. Welcome inside the bottom line. Cold morning this morning. Not much frost out. I got 32 degrees is what we kind of started out with this morning. It's still that. Didn't get real warm yesterday. Not going to get real warm today. There's talk of wintry precipitation in the forecast for the weekend. I saw something came down from Hickory Daily Record today that may be a half inch of snow in Hickory. But it's one of those where, because of the region of the country that we're in, you'd never know what you're going to get or how you're going to get it. But cold weather coming this weekend and some moisture. Glad to have with us this morning for Rembert. Jim Harbaugh's mini-me is in the house. Stand up. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, Michigan in the Big Blue. And I have to admit, I was one of those that was pulling for Big Blue over the weekend. It's hard to say as an Appalachian guy, but I wanted that to happen. There's certain things that you have to do, decisions you have to make when you only have two options, and that was the option I made. It's hard for me to pull for Nick Saban. Sorry, it just really is.
Hey, I have a quick question.
Just one?
On an estimate, how many people picked Michigan to win?
Well, Vegas did because they were what, a four?
Two.
2.5.
It may have been
2.5. Texas was the 4-point favorite,
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. Somebody got that wrong.
And also, I'm going to say that they got it right when they were doing the rankings. At first, I was like, how? No.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's just like a mule walking around in the woods and it finds an acorn. Well, it's just because it happened to be there. There was nothing that these people had it exactly right. Everybody's guessing. They just weren't throwing darts at a wall. I went 1-1 because I had Michigan and Texas playing for the finals. But Michigan won. I felt good enough about that. And that second game started way too late. I went to bed, so I didn't really care. Yeah. But the biggest thing that came from this set of playoffs, regardless of whether you thought it was right, wrong, didn't get it right, your team's not in, it was two of the best playoff games that we have had
ever seen.
Since and the other thing that's going to come from it, and this is where you're going to see most of it, the other bowl games are wrong. They're completely wrong because of the way they're doing it. So there's some things, and we'll get into it this morning. We'll get into what can we do to fix what's going on.
Hey.
And most people say that it's not going to change for 2 years because that's when the big ESPN bowl contracts end up.
Yeah.
Lenny, I just pulled up your
Where did you
live
go?
stream,
Oh,
and
yeah, it's not there.
It doesn't show me.
Okay. Everybody talk for it.
Yeah, it sure done. Okay, so last month, 100% wrong on every assessment. I have no problem admitting that. You know, you look at the metrics, you look at things, how they are, where things have come from, how they developed and how they got there.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. They're, you know, the way they ranked them to how they got to where they were, you know what? They got it right. It played itself out and they got it right. Yeah, I think the biggest issue that all of us had was, you know, how does Georgia go from number 1 to number 5 in one?
Number 6.
Or excuse me, number 6. Yes, in one ranking. Thank you. In one ranking, you know, just off a 3-point loss. And then, you know, there's been a lot of talk about, well, who deserved to be there, Florida State, this, that, and the other.
No.
You know, Florida State's program is in a state where it is, and it's indicative of today's society. Well, I didn't get what I want, therefore I'm going to quit and go on somewhere else. You know, where you have, you know, consistently year in and year out. The reason that Georgia and Alabama and now Michigan, you know, are where they are is because their players play.
Yes.
Okay? They go out and they play and, you know, they try to improve their status instead of holding it and then improving it in front of a bunch of metrics, you know, 4 months later that don't have anything to do, you know, with you going out and playing the game.
Yes.
You know, because you can be the fastest guy in the world, but if you can't apply it to football, then it doesn't matter. You can bench press 500 pounds 55 times. It doesn't matter. Look at Tony Mandrich, right? So I think the reason that, you know, that a lot of these programs are not sustainable right now in the way they are is because they don't have the right mentality and they're not recruiting the right type of player for the mindset that it takes for them to be successful long-term, not just about them. And, one of the things that I talked about with a bunch of, just hanging out with a bunch of people this weekend and guys and girls and everybody just, getting into things, at what point do we get to, to saying to people that are taking advantage of the opportunities and situations that are provided for them, at what point do we say, okay, where is your stake in this? Right now you have all style points, but where's your substantive stake in it? And what you cannot say about Georgia or Alabama is that their players do not finish what they're intended to do. Now, Brock,
No.
I think the tight end, the kid that's so good,
Bowers,
he didn't play, but he's been hurt. There is a difference there. That kid has been injured. He's been trying to play. He played hurt in the SEC championship, and that's just on him. It wasn't best for him health wise, right? To go out because he was already hurt.
Yeah.
Now these ones that are not hurt and don't go out and play, look, that's up to them and their coach. But I'm telling you, people are starting to get disheartened and disenfranchised.
Yep.
With players that are not completing the games. The most enjoyable bowl games are the ones that they go out and play as hard as they can. That Rice and I believe it was Rice and Texas State was as good as any bowl game with the exception of the semifinal games. It was. And how about Ole Miss? Their kids went out and played. They had a couple I think that didn't, but overall,
I think they were getting ready for the draft.
yeah, well, that's why. That's why most of them opt out is because they have an opportunity with that. And look, that's up to them. I'm just saying the appearance of what it looks like and then now what's coming to fruition. So there's a lot of things that, are playing themselves out with the way that people, either do or do not want to, watch these things go through them or whatever. So, Bob says, I still believe Georgia should have been in the playoffs. Hurt is a reason not to play. That's right, Milton. But hurt is not. That's very good. Jeff, Ole Miss looked like a monster. Let me tell you something. Their two losses this year were to Georgia and Alabama. Garrick and I were talking about this last night. For them to be ranked 11th, I completely understand why someone perceived that, but the way they went in, and I'm going to tell you something, Jeff brought up a good point with Ole Miss. Their defense and their defensive front line and their defensive backs, I'm telling you, the linebackers are good too, but you can really see, an offensive-minded guy, obviously in Kiffin, that has done a tremendous job building that defense. And his players play hard. He does a great job with his quarterbacks, all of them that are in the system. He pays attention to detail. He does all this.
Yeah.
So, Lanny, there are some good points brought up here about, some of these other teams, and this is where the argument that I believe you have made and many others comes through that says, hey, look, we do need more than a 14 playoff system. This is the thing. Ole Miss gets in, all right, and let me tell you something. It wouldn't surprise me if they were just as good as any of that top six. Now, yes, did they get beat by Alabama and Georgia? Yes, but that doesn't mean that they don't, play them better the second time. So I was wrong about Sark. He looked like a deer in the headlights.
He did.
Even
Looked like
though
the moment was too big
And
for
this is
him.
what's crazy. With all the criticism that's coming down with Alabama and with Texas in those games, Texas lost on the last play of the game and Alabama lost in overtime. And what's crazy to me is it's almost ludicrous to say that they didn't get it right because Bama lost or beat Georgia by 3, which was the number 1 team, and they lost to the number 1 team in overtime. So for somebody to say, well, it's a real smart aleck comment, which is fine. I mean, I went to East Carolina, but I want college football to get this thing right. Okay, and Bama and Georgia lead it. They lead college football in that regard, okay, as far as getting it right. Mm-hmm. For someone to say they didn't deserve to be there, they beat the number 1 team when they had to by 3 on a neutral field, and they lost in overtime to the number 1 team, okay, on the last play of the game. So I don't think that's a fair assessment. Now, was the offensive coordinator bad in that game? Yeah. Michigan had a tremendous blitz scheme for between the C gap and in, right? Tremendous blitz scheme. The problem is Alabama kept their guy in the pocket. If you want to neutralize the blitz, get away from where the blitz is coming.
Yeah.
This is not rocket science. And it was almost like another deer in the headlights. And it just it kind of, I don't know, the continuity, everything. Michigan did a great job.
Let me ask
they
you a question.
deserved to win that game.
Andrew made a comment when the games were going on, or when Alabama got beat, that he thought Tommy Rees would be gone. Are you hanging that on Tommy Rees in the offensive?
Yes, 100%. 100%. It was awful. And Saban, yes, he is ultimately responsible for that. But Rees has got two choices. He's either got to get drastically better and prove that he can, or his rear needs to be out. That is not indicative of when we've seen Dabold, the guy Brian.
What happened to Ohio State?
The guy that coached down there that's now with the Patriots again.
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. It wasn't indicative of Lane Kiffin. Steve Sarkisian. The top four that we've seen. Rees, I mean, it's like they were a JV offense. And you know what's crazy? Milroe still had people say, "Oh, he's not the quarterback," and that's fine. Have that opinion, but that guy still had tremendous runs and was the X factor. Mm-hmm. And they neutralized the X factor because they came through B gap most of the night on delayed blitzes.
But
it was beautiful.
How many times do you see? And if you remember, they made the comment during the game. Alabama averaged over 350 pounds across the front.
Yes, sir.
And how many times have you seen Alabama offensive lines
Bingo,
get beat?
baby.
They got
Great
beat.
point, Laney. And you know why the last play of the game did not work?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what, that's a pretty good play
back
design.
In the
Why? Why did it not work? Say it.
They drove the center right
no,
back
not
into
the
Milroe.
center. The tackle.
Yeah.
The tackle right back into Milroe. Drove him straight back. That's one of the biggest kids in the country. Drove him straight back, and now the snap was low. Yeah, timing's off. No problem. Hell, if he don't get drove back, you can get up inside and cut back.
But the thing of it is, and
Crazy,
this is
crazy.
what I've said for so long, and what we even taught, or what I tried to teach our kids this fall, that up front defensive line is not about tackles. It's about disruption.
Exactly.
Because that's not what they're geared. If you can make a tackle, that's great. But your job,
Good
just
point.
like happened there, is to disrupt that offensive line, disrupt the timing, because that's what your linebackers are back there for. They're back there to stop that. But if you stop if you cause enough disruption that the play can't materialize, you don't have anything anyway.
Amen, brother.
And then everybody still comes.
So,
and that's what happened. But I'm going to tell you something. Michigan's flipping huge too on both sides of the ball.
They're really good. And what I liked about it is we actually got to see them against great players across from them. And make no mistake, did Bama grow throughout the year? The answer is probably the biggest growth of any team that we've ever seen, because they were so dysfunctional at the beginning of the year. So from a growth standpoint, you have a team like that. Ole Miss was the same way, as far as where they started to where they ended. And me, anybody else can say that's true for Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you guys, Washington, true for them. Mm-hmm. True for them. 100% wrong on every assessment, every idea, every thought for the last month of what this has. Sarkisian is not who we thought he was, or else he would have stepped up in that game and just shredded that defense, okay? And that and you know what? He's 10 times, I mean, he's a million times better than, whatever. But he did not step up and do it. Tommy Rees was not any good. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason Rees wasn't good because Michigan was better and they had a better overall scheme. And I'm going to tell you what was so impressive to me. I'm sitting there watching, and I'm watching how they're doing delayed blitzes. They set up in their four-man front and, scaled some things and even a couple of eagle down fronts and things like that. But they occupied on the quick side where Bama was empty or had, just 5 protection playing with the back swinging out, okay? So that's 5-on-5 is what I'm saying. They occupied the backside guard. They occupied the backside tackle, either with a tackle coming, an end coming or an outside linebacker coming, and it left a hole right here that they would delay the backer blitz on. And the kids are fast enough to get back there on Milroe because they compressed this other side. So it forces him to it's hounds to the hunters.
No.
It was beautiful.
They did a good
Great
job.
scheme. It was like Tampa Bay 2 years ago or 3 years ago in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. It's the same concept but different scheme. Great job.
Let me take a break, see if I can get G fixed. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. All right, I think we're good to go now. We got everything straightened out. Glad to have you here this morning.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Delaney, I got to tell you, he's got a good breakdown on this thing.
Okay. Let me catch some comments. Ohio State got spanked because they didn't have anybody playing. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's got to happen. And I've said this before. I've said that by going to 12 teams, you'll have a little more parity because there are more teams that can make it in instead of just 4. Right. That's going to help some. Now, the other things that they've got to fix the bowl season because it's useless now. Nobody wants to go play in a bowl. That was obvious, and I think the numbers, the TV numbers are going to show that. And what happens then, nothing gets changed in this world until it affects the wallet. When it affects money, that's when it happens. So if the bowl games lose money, if the advertisers don't feel like they're getting their investment, then something's going to change. And I like the original, which is, and I know that, and the other side of it is people don't travel to bowl games that have no importance. And I'm sorry, I don't mean that in a negative way, but you saw most of the bowl games, did not fill up upper tiers of the stadiums, and a lot of the bowl games didn't even fill up the lower bowls.
But they never have. The smaller bowls never
That's
have.
what I'm saying. So they don't need to be there. So the way that you make this change is, and what I like about it, first of all, you got to get the national championship over before the end of the year. Okay? And move the transfer portal after the last bowl game as far as for it to start. And I know where they want to be able to start in the spring. Well, take all those bowls that don't have anything to do with playoffs and you make them kickoff bowls. You'll have full houses come in on Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Weekend,
I agree.
come in
I
to
agree.
watch all these bowl games.
I agree. The other thing, too, is why not move the transfer portal to May after the semester's done?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because if the true intent is collegiate athletics and you're going to hide behind that. And
but they have a window there.
They do, but just have one.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
That way the player either has to go out and compete in the spring at the institution or school that they're at, stay in school, okay? All right, which if we're going to say it's intercollegiate athletics, then let's get back to the basis that built this whole thing instead of going off into Peter Pan land.
No, I agree. Yeah.
You know, the kids that never get to grow up, the ones that never hear the word no. Okay? Let's stop this because we're not doing anything but self-serving a certain amount of adults that are taking advantage of them. Okay? It's great that you have a platform to go out and play on. It's great that you can go and earn X amount of dollars. Okay? You were doing that anyway before all this started. Okay? But what it's done is disrupt opportunity for other kids and other young people that are coming in. All right? Because it's not all about you. Right? You may think it is, but it's not because the world doesn't care. Well, if they did, name the last 5 Nobel Prize winners. Name the last 5, vice presidents of the United States. Name the last 5 Speaker to Houses. If those people are so friggin' important, okay, and it's so, long-lasting and we got to do this now, then name them. Name the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners, okay? It's not about that. It's about the people you're around, all right, which brings a team together, the continuity of all of it, all right, and how it helps you be a better husband and father, wife, whatever you're, participating in down the road, you're a better contributing member to society, and it's not zeroed down just to a certain catered group of people. There's nothing wrong with having an opportunity in the United States of America. That's what it's all about. But to take it away from other people for 15 seconds of flash, and then you don't even you don't even fulfill your role that you said you were going to do based on a collegiate atmosphere, give me a friggin' break. I'm about done with it. Well, just like pro football, if they hadn't stopped all this stuff about, do this thing over here, these people are bad, all this, I just want to watch a ball game, okay? And I want it to be in the purest form in the setting that is provided. And high school football is getting the same way if we don't clean it up. It's getting ready to go away. People say, it'll never happen. It's already happening in baseball. It's already happening in basketball. It's already happening in volleyball. We got kids locally that are thinking about not playing any of those sports because of the quality that they're falling into or lack thereof, that they don't need it to get to the next level. We got to fix this stuff. We got issues.
When you look at the transfer portal, there are multiple dates depending on sports. There are multiple dates depending on spring, winter, fall. They should take all of that and change it, and there should be one transfer portal window. At the best one I like, the football spring window is April 16th to April 30th, and that's okay. There's nothing going on. You're finished with spring practice, whatever. But that should be the transfer portal should be at the end of spring semester, so you have to fulfill that whole year.
See, I agree with that.
I mean,
make it
and make it. They don't.
Make
you
it
don't
collegiate.
need. You don't need all of those. You don't need all of those windows. Some windows. The windows would be fine if you just had one. But here's the thing, and I told somebody yesterday, we were talking about it. I got asked, what's the biggest sports story of the year? Okay? And there's too many of them to kind of be out there. But the biggest one to me is how this whole fiasco of the bowl season, the transfers, all of that stuff happened. And until we fix that part, and I'll go back just like with the high school association, the high school association got into the situation that it's in being taken over by the legislature because they kept saying, we're too big to fail. Nobody's going to touch us. I'm going to keep my blinders on. All this stuff around me doesn't affect me. The NCAA did the same thing. They were watching lawsuits come around for NIL money. They were watching lawsuits come around for transfer. If they had got on board and implemented something that would have been fair, none of this would have happened. You wouldn't have NIL running uncontrolled because they could have come in and put caps on it. But they refused because nobody's going to make us do that. So when that happens, and it's just like when you go down, it's the same thing, and I tell people here in our little town, if you want to see what happens if you don't embrace some progress on a controlled basis, go to Mooresville.
That's right. Amen, brother.
You go to Mooresville, and you can find out exactly what happens when you don't control it.
I'm not listening to that either.
Because people will get in and get in control, and then they'll pay no attention to what you want, and you've lost control, and that's the same thing that's happening down there. And it's never going to change because all they see is dollars. They've allowed all of this development to happen, and now they've got to allow more development because they can't pay for the development that they've already brought in. So that it's the same thing with the NCAA. They didn't want to acknowledge it. They wanted to ignore it and said, it will go away. If we just ignore it. I know too many people that are like that, especially in my family, that if I just don't acknowledge it, it's not real. It doesn't happen. And that's what happened with college sports. Now, the problem is going to be, I don't know how, because of the legal ramifications, you put the genie back in the bottle, other than X amount of schools break apart, and this is how we're going to do it, and here's our rules, and then everybody goes back to the way it used to be. Because here's the deal. There is not enough talent in all of these sports to actually pay somebody more than a scholarship.
You're right, but if you move it around, there is, and that's what they got to stop.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's what they got to stop.
And the other part is, this is the other part, and I'll point the fingers at a lot of different places. What needs to be done is, and I say this all the time about myself, I am completely okay with who I am. I'm old. I'm a country redneck. Went to West Lincoln. I am who I am. You like me or you don't like me. It's up to you. I'm okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And the problem is you've got colleges and universities that think because we've been here forever as part of this group.
That's right.
You can't kick us out. We deserve here. It's okay that you kick us around every year in every sport, but we belong here.
What's that called? That's called entitlement.
That's right. But that's what's happening. And until these colleges and universities get the guts and drop a set and decide, okay, we've got to do what's best for everybody as a group. And sometimes you have to tell people in the group, you can't make it in this group, but if you'll be in this group, you can be more successful. And it becomes more style or substance. I would rather be associated with this group and be unsuccessful than to be associated with this group and be successful. Same thing happens with players sometimes. I would rather go do this so that I can have my name attached to this university, even though I never stepped foot on the field, instead of going to this college and actually being a participant and playing and developing myself.
So what is an actual, all right, what is an actual successful venture? Is it actually winning a championship or having a successful experience that helps you develop further in life, right? To your
that's
point.
Easy. That's easy.
And I think that is your point.
Which one has more possibilities? Developing as a human being, because there's only one championship.
Right, self-improvement.
So if the championship is your only goal, then there's only going to be one of those. So there's going to be a lot of disappointed people that get nothing out of the experience.
Well, this is what's crazy. Like, I've worked on staffs where they were like 3-8, 5-5, 6-4, 6-5, whatever. And the kids had a successful experience, even though they didn't win a conference championship or a state championship, because of the experiences they had, the growth, the learning, the individual attention to themselves, detail. Not only talking about football, but, hey, are you going to do chess club, during lunch with us? Or are you going, let's work on your college applications for your education, right? When everything is based off of style only, which is we got to win this game, we got to do this, that's great. But in the end, is that really what's best for the player? Well, and East Burke High School has got that part figured out.
I look at it.
You follow them on Facebook, and you see the things that they do. You see the things that they are producing with the players and the opportunities that are given to the kids and the experiences. I'm from there. I know these people. They couldn't be more they were like 5 and 6 this year, 6 and 5, maybe whatever. And they had their banquet, and they talked about the kids that are getting to go to these colleges or this opportunity, both for football or other sports or just academically. How they do their captains. Once a week they have a senior that stands up and leads the team in a thought for the week or a mission statement for the week. It could be through religious parts of things, or it could be through something that's important to them. These things, and there's many other schools that do a good job locally. I'm just giving them a lot of props on that, because when those kids get done, that experience is what it's all about, because you only have what you have unless everybody starts transferring in. Mm-hmm. I've already heard in Catawba County there's 3 or 4 kids that are moving into certain schools and doing all this from others, right? So, I don't see – there's never going to be a perfect system for anything, but I think trying to get things right and hiring the best people for the job is paramount, especially when dealing with young people. The college football thing, Lenny, you're 100% right. They've got to get things right. I wish they just cut all of it out and go back to college football.
Well, they will for the majority of the teams, but that'll happen. Jeff said this. He said, not all teams can win. Individual growth, team development, community morale are the victories and accomplishments. Now, I'm a believer that if you take care of that part, it will help you develop the other part that turns into victories, because if you don't have that foundation, you can't get there. You're still a group of individuals.
Agreed.
I'll give you one more story, then I'm going to take a break, and then Jim's going to break down the national championship game. I applied the first time that I applied for a head coaching position, okay, and it was in a baseball town in northwest Gaston County. Okay. And I lived 5 miles down the road. I went and applied, talked to the AD and the principal. And when I apply or go to an interview, I don't tell you what you want to hear. I tell you what I'm going to give you.
Yeah, right.
And that way there's no misgivings about the expectations moving forward. And I was very honest with this group. And they said, well, what do you see as the future of this program? And I said, well, to start with, if you hire me, I'm not climbing the ladder. I'm not looking to be a head coach in Central North Carolina because I built the program. I'm staying right here. I'm about the community and the kids. I said, realistic expectations of this program. We're in a small 1A conference. If this program could be 500 or better year in, year out, and occasionally compete for a conference championship, yeah. If you want me to tell you I can come here and get you a state championship, don't think it's ever going to happen, because you haven't realistically looked at the talent that you're bringing and the number of students that you have in the school.
Right.
Things have changed. But if that happens, that's great. Do we strive for that every year? Absolutely. But I'm just telling you what I feel like expectations should be. Mm-hmm. It's just like when I was coaching, we could look at the schedule and kind of know where we were going to fall for the year. Mm-hmm. Never shared that with kids. Right. Because we knew that there were certain games that we had to do more, and we had to do everything right to even have a chance. Okay? But you went into every game feeling like you had an opportunity to win that game, even though you knew certain things had to happen to make that happen. So, I just think you have to be realistic in how you look at things, and I think you have to build the foundation side of making and just like when I said I'm okay with who I am, it's making those kids that are participating, don't put that pie in the sky stuff that you know all the way that you know they can't reach that goal.
That's right.
They can't get there. Don't tell them they can.
Yep.
Tell them I'm going to help you develop and get better every day. Every day, if you are better on Tuesday than you were on Monday and better on Wednesday than you were on Tuesday, I'm doing my job and you're doing your job.
Absolutely.
Because that's all expectations should be, is to make you better as you go. Take a break. National Game Breakdown coming up next.
Whether Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Stiefel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stiefel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stiefel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. Heading to our final segment. National Championship game coming up before we will all gather again.
Yep.
Projection before we get to Jim?
Yeah, so after breaking it down for 2.5 days with Jim, and he's given a lot of thought into this, you know, the way he's breaking things down, it's, you know, I think it's Michigan by 7. He has a different take. He thinks it's a little closer, but he's young. He's 12. But let's throw age out. He's broken this thing down, and he's started with, you know, offensive play, wide receiver, all these things all the way down to special teams. And he's given check marks on who he feels like is the best and why.
The biggest reason that is the analysis that should be used is you have taken out your personal bias based on history or coach or program and those kind of things. When you break it down in X's and O's, yes, you give it a very objective look and not taking the other things into consideration. The biggest thing that most of the analysts are saying, especially if you're a Big Ten analyst, is it's an all Big Ten championship. Mm-hmm. And the other side of it is, if Washington would happen to win, that would be so bad because they don't have anywhere to put the trophy.
Correct.
Because there's not a Pac-12.
That's right.
There's not a Pac-12 anymore. All right, Jim, you've got the floor. Tell me why you think the maize and blue will come out victorious. And if you think it's a closer game, what do you think the final score is going to be?
See, I originally had Michigan winning by 11. I think I had it 31-20.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling more like 31-27.
Mm-hmm.
Like anywhere from like 31-27 to 27 to like
Is that based on a
13.
a deeper evaluation and appreciation of Washington's quarterback?
Yep. That's fair. Break it down. Go ahead. You got your list. Go ahead. You did a good job with this. Do it.
So when we talk about the run game,
Mm-hmm.
Washington lost their running back, and Michigan still has Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
Edwards is more of a receiving running back than Corum is. And also Corum plays a lot more. So I'm going to give Michigan the check mark on the run game.
All right. Go to
Okay.
the next one.
However, on the passing game,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give Washington a check mark.
I agree.
Penix throws the ball more. He throws it underneath more, though.
And he can throw it over top, but
And
he's
he can.
underneath is
But
where
But
he's
he's
so good.
underneath, yeah.
Yes.
But the only thing, okay, and to me, when you said Washington doesn't really have the running game, Washington can't run on Michigan. If they're going to be able to stay in this game, it's going to be on the arm of Penix,
Yes.
which goes back to the problem that Alabama had. You got to keep that defensive
That's right.
line off your quarterback. Now, Penix, from what I understand and what I've read, and you can tell me, G, he's not really a scrambler quarterback.
No.
So if that's the case, and the way that Michigan manhandled Alabama's up front, with Alabama refusing to move and make Milroe a mobile quarterback,
Yep.
it could become a problem for Penix to be able to throw the ball. And the other thing is, in pro football, in most football, what sets up the pass? The run. And if they don't have much for run game, it could be a little tough. But go ahead. Give me your next one.
So, and wide receivers as well. Michigan has more route runners than deep threats. But between Penix and those fast receivers that can get right off the corners and run into the open field, it's going to be more of a problem for Michigan than it is Washington.
But I'll go back again, and you made the point a minute ago. Penix is more effective underneath,
Yep.
and I think that's where he's going to be, because I don't think he's going to get the time to allow those big-time receivers to get loose. I don't think he gets that kind of time in the pocket. So I think their game plan is going to have to be underneath, and
Yep.
occasionally take a shot.
Yep.
Because he's not going to have the time to do it. The biggest problem that happens that I see is they've got great weapons, Washington does, but it only takes a couple of disruptors to kind of get that out of kilter. Now, I don't know, how do you feel like Penix handles the pressure, and if he doesn't get some early success, does it start to weigh on him a little bit and he start to push the envelope a little bit? You think he can remain calm if he doesn't have that success? See, I think that happened to Milroe.
Yeah.
I think Milroe couldn't get his confidence established, and he struggled
He's
with
running
it.
for his life, or
Yeah.
worried about his life. I think
Who-
Penix. G brought up a good point though, with what you said about Penix. He thinks that they're going to take a lot of shots underneath because Michigan's coming quick, and then they're going to bring one extra guy in and start messing with him on the deep ball, because Michigan's going to shell everything instead
Right.
of playing, man and press man and all these things. They're going to give
Right.
up the underneath and not give the big shot. But the problem is, as fast as those kids are at Washington, now Michigan's got great DBs and they played really well. But like he said last night, if Washington's kids get on the outside or they take an inside-outside route, that's where the speed factor comes in, and Penix can throw it over the top too. So I think they're going to, and he believes, G said he believes they're going to dump it, and Michigan's going to want them to do that. They're going to get, it's like a short yard running game.
It's
And then
like
he's
the
gonna
old
start
West
hitting
Coast
them deep.
offense.
Yeah.
That's your run play.
You
That's your
run
run
it
play with a
for
pass.
2-3 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe even half a yard or
And
whatever.
what down's the most important down in football?
Second.
Second down, why?
because second down sets up for third.
And third down has to be what?
A first down.
What third down has to be manageable, right? And that's where a lot of these teams get off guard. They have a good run or a good pass play on first down. It's like 2nd and 3, and all of a sudden it's 3rd and 13. That makes no sense.
If it's 3rd and long, that playbook gets small.
It's real small.
I mean, it gets small.
And your defense gets long, and that's not good.
Is Penix a number 1 pick in the draft?
Depends on what team will end up with the number 1 pick. So
it's going to be Chicago.
Because
the Panthers suck.
And they're going to have the number 1 and 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
So Chicago will not take Penix. Penix is not number 1 because if we go through the other guys, we got
Caleb Williams.
Caleb.
I don't think Drake May's a top 5. That's just me on the other players that I've seen.
I think that's who the Patriots are going to take.
Yep.
It depends on if Bill's still there.
Yep.
If Belichick's still there.
Yeah.
What's really going to shuffle all this up is after next Monday, which is Black Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's 10 to 12 more coaches going to lose their head coaching jobs. And then it's going to determine who comes in.
Yeah.
And then you take a look at, like, for example, one of the biggest scenarios I've heard, talking about Chicago being the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
They don't roll the dice on Fields. They take another quarterback.
That's right.
They trade him for a couple of seconds and thirds, maybe to an Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then people feel like Fields can work in Atlanta, but that may not be the case if Arthur Smith gets the axe.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many moving pieces. But from a talent standpoint, is Penix a top 5 NFL quarterback?
No.
Okay. See, I don't think so either because
he throws the ball too low. His arm slot is too low when he throws the football.
You have to, if you're going to throw the football in the NFL, unless if the receiver is wide open,
that's right.
You are going to have to throw it over and not under.
That's right.
Well, you have to throw the receiver open in the NFL.
Yes.
You don't hit the receiver in the NFL like you do in college.
And he's talking about the elbow being low.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that, we look at evaluating kids. There's a lot of
but
college
that can be
quarterbacks.
fixed, can it not?
Well, not really. I mean, I say not really. It can be, but that's why they are where they are because of what they've done. So what happens when you move up a degree or two with the arm to get it up where it needs to be? Lamar Jackson, is the one that threw the ball elbow down for so long, right? And it's taken him 7-8 years in the NFL. And people say, he's been a great passer. No, he now throws the football the last couple 3 years, and I'm not down at him because he's a great player. But it's one of the things that, G and I talked about, there is a huge difference. That was the big thing with Tebow. Oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. My question is, how much better would the Cleveland Browns have been up until recently having Tim Tebow as a quarterback for 8 years? I mean, let's don't forget he did beat the Steelers, who had the best defense in the NFL in overtime. The boy did beat them.
And then got smacked by the Patriots.
That's right. That's right.
Who's got the best defense, Michigan or Washington?
Better defense? Michigan.
Yeah. Keep going on your list. Go ahead. You got a couple more. Go ahead. Pick it up wherever you want to.
So let's also finish off the offense by talking about offensive line. So between Michigan and Washington on the offensive line, you have to go with Michigan.
Right.
Washington has not established their offensive line for the games that I've watched them. And their offensive line is what's going to hurt them in the run game and in the passing game. Because if we bring blitzes like we did against Milroe, it's not going to be any different from them Penix.
That's right. Go to the next one. That's good. Go to the next one.
Defensive line.
Yep.
I'm also going to go with Michigan for this.
That's right.
Because, like I said, Washington does not have the greatest offensive line.
They're very good for quick passes and for the Pac-12.
But
they haven't seen a defense like Michigan's going to put at them.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's the
100%.
biggest thing.
Because Texas didn't put up a defense against them.
And which was
they
shocking.
allowed 37 points.
Which was shocking.
Well, but it's not because of the conference they play in. The Big 12 has never had defensive play.
No,
Oklahoma,
I don't disagree with that.
nobody.
But
yeah.
But when they played against a big Alabama offensive line at the beginning of the year, who was okay, not real, whatever, kind of like the other night, they pretty much did the same thing.
But that's
that we saw.
But that's because of the offensive line did not have the stability that it has now.
No, completely agree.
Okay.
Completely agree. But with the 3 kids that Texas has, you would think in theory by watching them and how they do. But to Washington's credit, they neutralized it through the quick ball and through the underneath ball and keeping Penix far enough away from them, right, by doubling the 2 guys and then single blocking the other, and then bringing another guy in for 6-man protection on the other one. So
the biggest thing when you look at Michigan, and you may agree with this or may disagree with it, Michigan comes the closest of looking like a premier SEC team.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Completely
That is
agree.
not
Their
SEC.
personality,
Right, that's right.
their identity, their player makeup, the way they play,
Prowess.
the way that they play
It's really good.
that's why I think they've had the success, because the SEC has dominated for so long because of that. And even though it's still got that Big Ten flavor, there's a lot of similarities that you see with Michigan. And I think they were Alabama of the Big Ten, and that's why they beat Alabama. Next point, sir.
Gee, move your mic just a little closer. They can't.
I turned him up.
Okay, good. Go to DBs now.
All right, defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it to both teams right here, and I'll tell you my reasoning. Both teams have very similar defensive backs. And also, I just pulled up the stats, and they are very similar between defensive backs and stuff like that. Michigan has allowed less deep balls, and that's simply because we're playing Big Ten.
Very good. Exactly.
And we're playing a Pac-12 team.
There you go.
The other thing, and I want to say both of them, Alabama and Michigan, they had some of the biggest DBs I think I've ever seen. I mean, it looked like a platoon. It did. It looked like a platoon of linebackers. That's exactly what it looked like. I mean, those were some of the biggest defensive backs I have ever seen.
And they
ran
ran
well.
well.
Still run.
Yeah, they ran well.
They could still run. All right, next point.
Go to special teams.
Special teams. These two teams, I'm looking at ESPN for this, both have the exact same percentage and also have the exact same ranking.
From a special team standpoint.
From a special team standpoint.
Both of those teams do not have spectacular special teams, but they have efficient special teams.
Steady, that's right.
And that's where, back in the Frank Beamer days, Beamer ball was what made a difference at Virginia Tech, because he excelled at the special teams game. It was good for points and wins from special teams.
Yep.
Those days have kind of passed folks by. So you got to at least be proficient or above to be able to compete. You can't. You don't look for special teams to help you. You just look for special teams not to hurt you.
Well, you know what, I was listening to a guy the other day, just random, kind of like we do, just talking about things and giving a take on maybe something to look for. And he actually thinks that special teams are going to win the national championship game when nobody's talking about it, because, like you said, neither one are like dynamic or spectacular, but they're very consistent and very steady. And I think the kid from Michigan, missed a couple of field goals or whatever here or there, but it didn't seem to, phase him any when it came down to it. And so it could be, look, and the reason they brought that up is because look at the miscues that Michigan had on special teams as far as receiving, punts and making bad decisions and, that kind of thing, and the younger kids. And, think about the tackle that was made on the goal line after that kid muffed the punt.
Oh, I know.
Anybody else in the world fumbles that ball, And I don't think the credit, there's a lot of criticism. Yeah, you shouldn't have called inside the 5 or 7 or whatever, but then you fumbled it. And all. There was no credit given for the fact that he hung on to the ball. Because that's one of the hardest hits.
And kept it out of the end zone.
Yeah, if you go back and look at it, that's one of the hardest hits we probably saw.
Yeah.
And that kid held on to the ball. And so, there's a character thing that comes with that. You're going to make mistakes, but it's how you handle it is what determines your success or not how you react.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, there's Washington and Michigan both have, and again, I was 100% wrong with Washington and mostly part about Michigan. They have the intangibles. It appears to, get where they are, and they have proved it through. And when he started breaking things down a couple of days ago, a lot of that started coming to light. And going back and doing the Bama-Michigan game, Bama-Georgia, Washington, and Texas, Lenny, a lot of those metrics came out when you just go mano-a-mano or this line against this line and why. A lot of it started making sense. So did the committee.
I don't think they looked at it that closely.
See, I do. I do. And I'm going to tell you why. See, I do. And I think that's why they got it right. When I was looking at the peripheral things and didn't break it down like G did, I think they did. And that's where they got the metrics as far as Florida State not being put in. I don't blame anybody but Florida State. And I'm going to tell you why. They surrounded their whole scheme around how many people? One.
Yeah.
And then
so
you
many
want to come
teams
in,
do.
and you're going to live and die by that.
Right.
And guess what they did?
Like the 3-point shot. Like the 3-point shot
they
in basketball.
Died. You take Steph Curry out of the game, how good's Golden State?
Well,
they suck.
Golden State's not good now anyway.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, do they, you take LeBron out of a game. Well, back, whatever. But, you surround everything with one guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
you can't.
Let me ask you this question. This is a comment that came in, and I haven't thought about this. Richie said, it looks like Jim learned a few things in the NFL and the SEC, became a model of the NFL. Now, Jim is modeling Michigan after the NFL and the SEC.
It's a great point.
I mean, think about that for a minute. Really and here's the thing, and this is one of the things that we talk about all the time. The way you get better is you learn and adapt and make changes. And that's what Harbaugh has done since he's been at Michigan. Yeah. Because Michigan is not playing what you traditionally think of as Big Ten football.
No, he doesn't. Because he throws the football.
So, he has changed it to be able to – and Saban had to do the same thing.
And
at Alabama.
He went from a two-back system
and that's what I'm saying. That's why these guys evolve and become and continue to be successful. The ones that don't, that are determined that I have the best idea and this is the only way that it works and everybody else is wrong, and you start to see programs fade. And you start to see them become unsuccessful because they don't do that.
So you talk about the two quarterbacks that played at Bama that were part of that transition were Hurts and then obviously Tua. Mm-hmm. Who's better than NFL?
Hurts.
Why? Because what?
He can handle it more.
He stays on the field. He's been in the Super Bowl, right? Now that doesn't mean Tua's not going to, but he gets hurt, and he's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
But Hurts controls the game.
More than Tua
right,
does.
Tua manages it, from a distribution standpoint. And Hurts is more of a controlling factor. And, they're two different teams, but who's more efficient?
There's a lot of teams that would take a good managing quarterback.
And I would.
Because there's a lot of them that don't have a good managing quarterback.
Hurts is that guy, too. What I'm saying is he actually controls the game.
Yes, he does.
Because of his ability.
He can take it to the next level.
Yeah, because of his ability to get in there and run the football because he's tough enough. Do you know he's the second strongest guy at Bama?
Yes.
Like 650 pounds.
He's
squat.
like the strongest at the Eagles.
Yeah, right.
But here's the thing: the whole thing is where you've got some issues with NFL teams or even college teams is if you don't have a quarterback that at a very minimum can manage the game, you can't compete.
Right.
It takes a quarterback that can manage and become a factor in the game to take you to the next level.
Well, that's very true.
Unless
Very true.
the only time you go back to that is if you go back to a Flacco Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Or you go back.
Flacco now.
Go back to what's
now,
the guy that was at the Eagles when the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
Foles.
Nick
Foles. He was a
God, he was
quarterback that
amazing.
could step in,
Yes.
and he didn't screw it up because they had so much around him, offensively and defensively.
Distribute, manage.
Yeah. So you've got to have that quarterback. One final question, G, and then we got to go. Is McCaffrey an NFL quarterback at Michigan?
McCarthy?
I'm sorry. I said McCaffrey. I'm thinking
McCarthy
Christian.
depends what team.
So
if
he
we're going-
does have the tools that it takes if he can get inside the right franchise.
Yes.
Okay. And that's what's happening to a lot of these quarterbacks. Look at Tampa Bay. Everybody wrote Baker Mayfield off.
Right, except Baker.
And except somebody that could come in there and get on the same page.
But Baker's always had the talent. What did he need to do more? Did he need to get better as a quarterback? No,
he needed discipline.
He needed to get
You
better
need to improve as a person.
There you go.
He needed to be a better Baker.
If we can instill that into kids,
yeah.
that way they're focused on the substance of things instead of the style of it. Your style will come out of the substance that you have as your baseline. That is the biggest misnomer today.
Dion.
Yes.
That's right,
Dion.
Which
That's
goes
right.
back to what we were saying. If you build that level of responsibility and expectation in the kids, the rest of it will take care of itself if they have the talent to
Yes.
get there. One more question. Penix or McCarthy, who has a better chance at succeeding in the NFL? Don't tell me where they go. Come on, don't be wobbling on me, talking like a politician.
McCarthy.
Why? Because he's your boy?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't throw the ball underneath every play.
Okay.
He
So
handles.
you think his
he
mechanics
handles
are better?
defenses. See, for the first time, the Big Ten has better defenses than anybody.
Yeah. Well, you know they've got
Ohio
better
State
defenses.
Had a better defense than any defense of the
They've got-
Pac-12.
they've got-
Iowa had a better defense.
They got
than
better
anybody in the
defenses
Pac-12.
than three of the top conferences: the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC.
Right.
Yes.
So you're only talking about defense in the
Yeah.
Big 10 and the SEC.
And there's two other teams that are trying to play a style of SEC defense. They just have to improve their offensive side, right? So we're starting to see that bigger, faster, stronger kid on the defensive side of the ball that they're recruiting first instead of recruiting offensive kids like happened in ACC, right? Chaz Surratt, and then say when they get there, say, yeah, we don't want you to play quarterback, we want you to go over and play defense. And now guess where you are, the NFL.
Well,
You know that, but you see what I'm saying? That's the problem with
Troy
the ACC.
Anderson.
They recruit all these kids to come in and play offense, and knowing they're going to put them on defense, but the kids are not defensive minded first, right? You know, I saw Paul. I forgot to tell you this. I saw Paul Johnson a couple of weeks ago when we were up in the mountains. He's an Avery County boy, and I'm good friends with his brother Jamie. Okay, and I saw Paul and Andrew and Harry Harrison were with it. Me and G. We just went up for a night a couple 3 weeks ago. We went into Kay's Kitchen, and Paul was there with Jamie, and so we had a chance to talk. And Paul was telling me about when, obviously he was the head coach at Georgia Tech, that he recruited Caleb Farley. And he said, I wanted to come here and play quarterback. He said, could you imagine Caleb Farley playing in the triple option?
yeah, but it's
Oh, my
because he had a system
No,
that
that's
would
what I'm
work.
saying. That's what he said. He said, now, obviously, he made the right decision and, made it to the NFL and that kind of thing, being a defensive back. But he kept talking about, he said, that kid was so fast and so smart and so talented. And you know what Paul said about him? He said, the thing about Caleb is I felt like he could throw the football based on what I saw. People, I did too. I thought
He could throw it, especially in that system, because you're not completely
But I
relying
got to
on it.
tell you,
because
Lanny,
you're
I
not-
really thought
Not in the air raid offense.
Yeah,
You're
that's
in a
right.
But I
spread
really
offense.
thought the boy threw the ball good regardless. I mean, he was very accurate. He knew where he was going with the ball. But it was interesting to get a different take on a player, especially from somebody like a Paul Johnson that has had success and been a major disruptor, in the college football, I say era, college football, scheme of things in a modern day era. And, it just kind of gave a little bit of light on things from different perspectives that, not everybody has the right assessment, but rather the assessment based on where they perceive the ability to be to help in that system. It's just really different. Like when you and I look at a kid, let's say we're evaluating a kid on G's team, we may both see that kid's a really good athlete, but you may say, and you did, I like that kid at defensive end, where I'm like, I like him at inside linebacker. Doesn't make it. What I'm saying is, there's different perspectives.
And those are really interchangeable positions.
Well, to some degree, right?
Yeah.
But the point is where you may see value in one place and be right.
Yeah.
Somebody else can see value in another place and still be right. It's just a matter of what the system is set for and what you want to do.
My evaluating tool for that on defensive end and linebacker, excuse my French, you got to have enough ass to play inside linebacker. You can get by with it defensive end because it's not head on. It's not head on. All right, Jim.
Stand up and show everybody.
Can I
Stand 'em up.
expect you back next week to either be congratulated or defend why you lost after the national championship game?
He can,
Yes.
but he will have to be logged on and ready to go. So from 8 to 8:30 he'll be available, but after that he has
We
school.
can do that. We can do
So
that.
he can stand up, Jim.
That's because it's all about you, G.
Show him.
There you go. The full view right there.
Put the
all the way
glasses
down,
on.
all the way down to the khakis.
Show him your gloves. Harbaugh wears the gloves too.
You
Show
know,
him.
Jim didn't have on khakis.
The
Jim
other
had
night.
on navy.
Yeah,
navy.
the other night, right.
He didn't
So
have
the
khakis on.
big thing that we were talking about when he was at San Francisco, he shopped at Walmart and would just wear Dickies.
Yeah.
And so the players would all, but then they thought, well, that's his thing. And so they started following it. Well, that's what he's done. G hates wearing long pants. But if it's Jim Harbaugh day, move over to the center where they can see you. If it's Jim Harbaugh day,
Back up a little bit, G.
just keep walking back. Keep going.
There you go. Right there. You're good.
Now, that's Harbaugh before the game, warming up his quarterback. Got gloves on, khaki pants, tucked in sweatshirt or shirt. All right.
And don't ever throw off on Walmart pants because that's all I wear, and they're
No,
always
I'm not
shorts.
throwing off.
I
I'm
know.
saying,
I know. You know what I'm saying.
but he had a certain style, and that's where the brand was
That's right.
sold, and that's where he shopped.
That's where I shop.
And I mean,
Wranglers.
It was awesome.
Wrangler,
yeah, I mean,
ripstop,
it just-
cargos, shorts, in case you're wondering,
They
and
weren't
long pants
They
when I have
weren't
to wear.
designer. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They were.
I wear designer too. It's just they're Wranglers. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.